Thank you, Mark. I think there is some super divine power that I think has brought me to this great conference. And I'm sure the messenger has been Dr. Datta. So thank you to everyone in the team of the Bhagavad Gita Research Foundation, and of course to the International Journal of Hinduism and Philosophy. I was looking at the title itself. It's talking about this international conference on Hinduism, management and philosophy. I think each of them are very vast, and there's so much that can be done. There's a whole world inside each of these aspects. Well, I thought of, I am I've heard such great religious leaders. So I would say, I grew up in a typical Hindu family, went to a Christian school. I had lots of Muslim friends and Sikh, went to Gurdwara. So typically in India, in a very multicultural environment, I grew up. And I have one leg in management, another in psychology. Plus, I'm into, of course, on academic administration, and I deal a lot with the youngsters, possibly about 25 years, dealing with young entrepreneurs. So I thought, what is really that I can bring onto the table today? So I work in this area of well-being, and I thought of looking at, Swami Vivekananda ji, the thinker, the philosopher of the late 19th century, and his practice of well-being. So if you look at, I think, if you look at only in this, 39-year-old, and the kind of philosophy he has left behind, I think we are still learning, and he's an icon. He was not only a person who had great thought leadership, but I think he had a lot of power, the orator. He was a great orator. So looking at, what is the connection between him and the kind of eudaimonic well-being that I'm talking about. I'm sure all of you would remember when Aristotle talked about that well-being that comes from purpose and meaning in life is actually the well-being that stays on. So it's like a eudaimonia. So you're able to sustain. What happens is when you win a lottery ticket, it is just a pleasure for a while. But if your purpose in life gives you meaning, so that creates a lot of understanding and well-being. So if you look at life of, I think, Vivekananda, right from his early years, whether he went to Presidency College and Scottish Church College, and later on his understanding of religion. If you look at the kind of questions he asked right from the very beginning, he always had a very curious mind, and he would be asking questions, and he was very closely, connected to the Brahma Samaj. And at that particular time, I think the biggest change in his life was brought about by the Guru. So one of the things that we are able to see in his life, of Vivekananda's life, is the role of Ramakrishna Paramahans. We know how he changed and what he did for his Guru. So Swami's electrifying personality, the kind of inspiration. So some of his, thought leadership has stayed with us. So whenever he's talked about his, words like arise, awake, and the goal is till the time you're able to reach to the goal. These are some of the things that we really need to remember about Vivekananda. The greatest religion is to be true to your own nature, have faith in yourself. So Swamiji talked about imbibing faith and self-confidence in order to address challenges and move forward in a sustainable manner. And very interestingly, if you look at in India today, we are looking at the new education policy that has come in. And very interestingly, in the previous conversation, there was a mention of the sustainable developmental goals. People have seen that when we talk about development of youth, because India being a very young nation, people have seen the how the spirituality impacts life of the people. So there is suddenly a change in the way not only the curriculum is based on the technology or the we are looking at technology more as a means to an end rather than end in itself. So coming back to Vivekananda, a very practical man, Swamiji believed that the service to mankind should be selfless, as service to mankind was service to God. He worked tirelessly towards, betterment of the, cause for the society. He was one among the people who decided that, if India had to progress, you have to look into the, the poverty-stricken people in India. Swamiji, of course, grew up as a symbol of youth power. who hoisted the flag of Indian culture overseas. He fostered new enthusiasm for the progress among youth. And that's how, he could bring in a culture where, the National Youth Day is celebrated. And of course, that all of us know how he took Hinduism in Chicago on the September 11, 1893 in Chicago at the Parliament of Religion, where his address, I think, is something that everybody remembers. Some of the things that I think we need to look at is the kind of the will that one needs to have in order to make a change in the lives of people. How do you inspire, the inspirational leadership that he has talked about. And his teachings are full of those kind of inspiration. And each soul is potentially divine. And he's talking about the power that lies within an every individual. I think this is what it brings us very close to the concept of well-being. So if young people who are able to, realize their inner potential, they are able to deal with the, challenges that the chaotic world that has brought in front of us. And I must tell you that, during these COVID times, if you have seen that suddenly people realize that we are in a very interdependent world. We are in a world where suddenly, it has become a level playing field where we need to work together in order to, reach our global goals, just like the SDGs that we talk about, all those 17 goals. So suddenly, I think possibly COVID brought us to that aspect. And Swamiji's, of course, the whole spectrum that he's talked about, not only he's spoken about the youth or the poverty, he's also talked about the equality that can be brought to the gender. Today, we are talking about gender in some of our goals that we talk about. Now, finally, I would also like to say that, suddenly we are seeing the world where we are talking a lot about, in pursuit of happiness and well-being. So all of these thoughts, the inspiration, the motivational, the purpose, the way he looked at Buddha, his whole understanding of philosophy has given a new direction in the lives of the masses. So he has not only been a person who has been a change agent, who has taken India to the world, he's taken Hinduism to the world, and he has brought in a kind of, I would say, a revolution that brought in that kind of a change in the young Indians. And that is something which I think is the basis of where we look at the eudaimonic well-being. So if, we look at the young population, because I'm personally working a lot close to this young generation, I look at that's one of the reasons that they feel that they are not able to attain something, are kind of aspirational deficit that they have in them. So I think the kind of, philosophy that possibly which we have seen what Vivekananda has brought to the world is something, it is mind-boggling. And even today, we are trying to understand the philosophy. So he's talking about the virtues, how you can create, a compelling vision, a goal, and that becomes your purpose. And that gives a lot of meaning to your life. And where I have, in my understanding and in my study, I have talked about, instead of looking at a SWOT analysis where we talk about strength, weakness, opportunities, and challenges, we could talk about a leap, where in the model I'm talking about, when you're talking about L is things that you love doing. So every youth should look at something which is that they love to do. E is for what you excel in terms of you could be having certain skills that you have in you. And when you talk about A is your adaptability to the global, challenges and goals. And P is the kind of profession that you can pick up in life. So in order to have a kind of a eudaimonic well-being, it is clearly important to have a great purpose and meaning in life. So I thought I will just bring this concept to you, and people who are interested, people who are great researchers, I could see from different universities, I have people who are working in this area of, eudaimonic well-being. I would be very happy to interact with any of you out there if you have some thoughts in this particular area. Thank you very much.